All right, welcome everybody. This is episode 1 of the AOS Podcast. I am just 1/3 of the AOS. Tonight I'm gonna serve as a host / producer. So I'm David McGuire. We're excited about our first show. Hoping to get what we call the Realist Ed Movement on the way. So you can just call us the workhorse / leaders of this Realist movement. This AOS Podcast, we're gonna talk about a variety of things. We're gonna hit on social justice, education for sure, leadership. Might dabble in a little bit of politics. We're gonna have a little fun, but we hope this show is informative, and we hope you go on this ride with us. So before we get started, we're gonna go on little introductions about each of us. But I'm David McGuire, Indianapolis. I got a 1-year-old daughter, Zuri Rain, who's my heartbeat, and I represent the oldest and the coldest fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha. What? I mean, what? It's the AOS, right? I had to put it in there.
Okay, you got you're right.
I had to put it in there. So who wants to go next? I mean, that's got to go in order, right?
We'll let the O go. We'll let the O go.
All right, fellows, what's going on? Welcome everybody. My name is Demetrius Ball. I am a principal in San Ramon, California. I've been in education. This is finishing up year 12 for me. And I'm just excited to be here. Family-wise, my wife and I have been married, it'll be 15 years next month. We have 4 kids, 11, 9, 5, and 4. And, it's always rocking in the ball house. And I am, as you can see behind me, repping Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. Rue. Doc, you're up.
All right. So I am the S in AOS, Dr. Vashawn Smith, principal, Grandview Middle School, Grandview, Missouri. I am finishing up my 14th year in education. I've done a little bit of everything, assistant principal, instructional coach. I am a math teacher by trade. That's what my first love and what I do. Let's see, I have one daughter. She is 18. She just finished up her freshman year at Xavier University in New Orleans. So shout out to the HBCU out there. And I am a proud member of the greatest fraternity known to man, Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. Go, Mob!
All right, fellas. So now that we got the Greekness out the way, man, you gonna tell the folks who you are?
TSA Ray, black.
Man, hey, thanks for bringing me on y'all's first episode. Excited to be here. I'm Ray, 8 black hands, 1/4 for the super group, and man, I'm just excited to hear and learn from these young black principals as they do their thing. Family wise, for me, my oldest son just turned 15, going into his senior year, so he's about to go to college and do his thing. And then my youngest, my baby girl, who y'all see me on the video, she's all in my videos. She's about to turn 6, and she's gonna be going to 2nd grade. So we do this for the kids.
Absolutely, 100% do it for the kid. So if you're tuning in live, we got a comment feature. So make sure that you, if on the Facebook page, make sure you share, or the YouTube. Make sure you don't do the watch party. Takes away the functions of the comments, but we love to get the comments and get this going. So title of today's show is The New Black History Month. And the reason is June is turning into the blackest month of the year. Listen, like we getting Black History partially because of some of the stuff going around in the country, with the murder of unarmed Black people at the hands of police. But honestly, you've seen this come together of Black people, which is actually a beautiful thing. We got something to rally behind, and we coming together. So this is the new Black History Month. So welcome to June. And also, it's Juneteenth. So before, we're going to say Dr. Smith is going to give us a little history lesson on Juneteenth. So Dr. Smith, what is Juneteenth, and why is it important that we celebrate it?
So basically, everybody knows the story that's been told to you in your social studies class in any school across the land, that Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation. And I'm pretty sure a lot of young Black folks that are not as well educated think that on that day right there, as soon as the signature was done, he dotted the I, that Black folks was able to kind of go and do their thing, when that's not exactly what took place. Actually, it took literally 2 to 3 more years for Black people to be fully free across all the American territory. So on June 19th, 1865, Union General Gordon Gagner basically read his order in Galveston, Texas. And the reason why it was so important in Galveston, Texas is because when the Emancipation Proclamation got signed, a lot of slave owners basically fled to Texas because the Union didn't have control of Texas yet. So they wanted to keep their slaves and keep that free labor and things like that. So there was a plethora, of slaves still in the Galveston, Houston area. And that was kind of like the last area that the Union Army kind of got into to kind of make sure that people understood that the Emancipation Proclamation had been signed, that slavery, forced slavery like that was over with. I kind of want to take a pivot or, put a pin in that real quick, because if you think about this, the Emancipation Proclamation was signed in 1863. So we're talking 2 whole years later that slave owners were able to keep their slaves and basically get free labor. And then another thing, I know we've talked a lot about reparations and how Black people wish they, should get reparations. And I don't know how many Black people actually know that the slave owners after the Emancipation Proclamation were given reparations because of the lost labor that they were getting because slaves were now free. So I just want to kind of make sure I put those pins in there that people understand kind of where the whole reparation argument comes from for Black people, is because white folks got reparations after slavery. So why couldn't the people doing the labor not get that? So basically, after that, in 1865, on June 19th, 1865, that took place. It took, once again, some more months before the actual 13th Amendment took effect. That didn't take effect until December 18th, 1865. And that's kind of, what took place. That's what kind of happened there. So fast forward a year later, Black people were going to come together and kind of celebrate their freedom, Freedom Day and things like that. They didn't really have any land or things like that. So what they did was they would celebrate down by the river. They would do things. I mean, a lot of it is kind of what we do now. They barbecue, catch fish, play baseball, golf, do things like that to kind of really celebrate their freedoms and things like that. White folks really tried to put a halt on it because, like I said, Black people didn't have land. They had nowhere to kind of congregate and come together to do the celebrating. So Reverend Jake Yates, you can look Reverend Jake Yates up. He basically did a fundraiser, raised $1,000, and in Houston, Texas, they purchased Emancipation Park, and that kind of became the center for the whole Juneteenth celebration, where crowds and crowds of people would come to celebrate. At the height of the whole Juneteenth celebration, there was as many as 20,000 people that were coming down to the Houston area to celebrate Juneteenth. And then as we kind of fast forward through history and things like that, certain things like the war, Great Depression, things like that kind of dwindled the celebration of Juneteenth in that area. But also as people started to migrate out of the Houston area, we had the Industrial Revolution, things like that. And so people fled to like California, Chicago, and things like that. So they took that Juneteenth celebration with them to those parts of the country. But as you know, like I said, myself, when I was young, I didn't know what Juneteenth was growing up in Toledo, Ohio. It was never a thing for us in that part of the country. But yet when I moved to Omaha, Nebraska, Juneteenth is a big thing. It's celebrated every year as a festival, a party, a whole nine. So that kind of gives you the quick background about it. I would like to ask, my two brothers on here, that's part of the podcast. Like, when did you first learn? Did you grow up knowing about Juneteenth? And if so, what did it play out for you? And if not, when did you first learn about it?
I'll go ahead and start. I grew up in Ohio as well, and I grew up in a small town, Northwest Ohio, and we had a Black Heritage Library in Findlay, Ohio, and actually it's still there today. Miss Parker doing her thing out there, but when I was in middle school, that was the first time that because her sons are one is one older than me, and one is a couple years younger, and so we grew up in school together. And so I found out about Juneteenth through her organization and through the events that she held in our hometown. And I mean, our town was not diverse at all, but she brought the Black community together in a way that, allowed us to show our pride and to bring other folks in so that they can begin to understand. But, honestly, Juneteenth wasn't something that we studied in school. And it took someone in the community that was educated to share with us and educate us on what it was all about.
Yeah, honestly, for me, I went to an HBCU in Central State, and that was actually the first time I learned about Juneteenth as a freshman. So my freshman professor, who actually wound up being a mentor, she's the one that taught us all about Juneteenth. We read What's 4th of July to a Negro, Frederick Douglass, right? And she kind of took that and it took it to what Juneteenth was about and why we should celebrate that. And so it wasn't necessarily until maybe like my senior year where I really started. I won't say I was anti 4th of July, but I just didn't really celebrate it as much, really never got into it, and really started to kind of push it. And it's on my calendar as well. Juneteenth is something I celebrate. I can honestly say as a leader, I didn't do a good job of passing that down to my.
What internet service does he have?
I don't know.
Are you trying to cover my
talking about Juneteenth?
So can you start over because nobody.
How far do I need to go, man?
Hey, dirty, we can't hear you.
Hey, man, you know what? Listen. First of all, let me say, shout out to the east side of Nap. You know, I love it. Listen, east side of Nap is where it's at, man. But this Wi-Fi, man. Oof. Hold on, let me find my Ethernet cord, man. I got Teddy Riley in here.
Hey, anyway, we can't hear you, dirty. I can't hear you.
Got that.
Oh man.
Hey, you got.
They don't want me to be great. Hey, so I'm gonna just say this. Thank you, Central State.
Here we go.
So
here we go.
Hey, you gotta log out and log back in.
He the host.
I'm the host. What you? Damn. Man, hold on.
Hey, is it raining there? Is it raining?
No.
Maybe it's the storm.
Could be it.
You know what? Here's what we're about to do. This is what we're about to do. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I see folks right now texting me talking about what's going on.
Oh no!
Listen.
Hey,
we're gonna just move on. We about to move on. We moving on. Anyway,
let's make it happen. Let's make it happen.
About to move on. So we're all leaders, right? Ray, you superintendent. We're all principals. This is a unique time that we're in, and so you got COVID, the pandemic. You got the heightened sense of racial inequalities and things like that. So we'll start with you. When you think about your role, how do you see your leadership, if it will change, or how it will be different now our country's in a time of change?
Man, so honestly, it's kind of forced me to think outside of the box with regards to who I am as a leader. The traditional sense of leadership is kind of out the door because you got to be innovative in order to make sure that our kids are getting what they need. And so traditional ways of looking at things is just not going to work. And so, I'm fortunate enough to have leaders that work under me that think outside of the box and look at are solution oriented in terms of like dealing and addressing things. And so, that's super helpful in terms of helping me to do my job. So I love it. One of the things that we did to kind of get to be proactive, we didn't know that nobody knew that COVID was going to occur. And so we invested in our infrastructure. And so we had one-to-one devices for our students. And so it was a seamless transition. The only thing that we really had to do was that we had some parents that are on the lower end of the socioeconomic spectrum, and so we had to reach out to the cable providers to make sure that they had stable internet, unlike yours. And yeah, man, we were able to get this thing rocking.
Now you see why virtual learning was tough for my children, right? This is why, man. This is the problem, man. But you know what? Our former governor's in the White House, so I'm gonna just leave it at that, man. He ain't trying to help us. Anyway, Abal, when you think about out there in California, right? When you think about going into next year and how you're prepping, not just yourself, but your leadership team and your teachers, how's your leadership going to be when we return back to school in whatever form that is?
Yeah, I think one of the most important things is communicating as often and as clearly as possible. That was honestly, communication was one of the areas that I felt like I needed to be, because this was my first year as principal, and boy, what a year to be a first year principal. But early on, I realized that I have to communicate. I need for my staff, I need my students, need my parents to know who I am and what I'm about. And so just being consistent in my communication, just setting up a schedule to weekly communicate to my students and family, doing announcements, doing updates to my staff consistently. I think just that transparency and letting them know, hey, this is what I'm thinking, and this is the direction that we're heading, and communicating that often has been very important, and that's going to be something really important moving forward. It's tough when you're waiting on your district. We've got some things in place, but the district's going to come with their plan, and we're going to have to execute that. And so just from my own personal style, I'm not necessarily one that pushes those above me that often, but I'm finding myself doing that a little bit more, asking more questions so that I can inform those that I'm supporting, those that I'm serving. And so I have to be a lot more assertive in order to get what my students and what my staff needs. And so that's where I'm heading into next year, just trying to push more for more information so that we can solidify our plans and get ready for whatever next year looks like.
Yeah. Dr. Smith, how's this shaping your leadership as you go into the fall 2020?
As far as as going into the fall, like I'm like TSA Ray said, really looking at our infrastructure. One of the things, kind of giving a real quick back piece before I go into the future of next year, is last summer when I took over at my school at GMS, we went out and bought 100 MacBooks so that we could be one-to-one across our 7th and 8th grade students, and then our 6th graders are currently using iPads. As we look at this year and kind of going in, looking at what we're going to do next year, and I've already kind of talked with my boss, Dr. King, who's the assistant superintendent for curriculum instruction for our district, and really talked about how I wanted to be MacBook one-to-one across the entire building. So we are looking at to make that investment, which is approximately 225 more MacBooks, using some different Title I funds, using some grant money that we got from other things, that have to, as far as responding to COVID. The other thing that I did that I have tasked my building leadership team to really kind of be my eyes and ears on what is it that they need as a staff to be better prepared. As I said, before, like I feel like we did kind of virtual opportunity. We weren't doing virtual learning in the in fourth quarter, and really it was kind of an emergency learning. We were just trying to figure it out on the fly. So how can we be proactive? That's what we've been doing over the last couple of weeks. As a matter of fact, today was the last day of a conference we've been a part of, the Building Expertise Conference that's held by Learning Science Institute. And pretty much every session that we went through was all on virtual learning. How do you do social-emotional instruction through virtual learning? How do you set up, culture and climate through, virtual learning? So a lot of the sessions we went into kind of focused on that, and kind of how do we be more proactive going forward? And then one of the things I tasked them with today was, what was one session you attended that come August that you could do a workshop for the rest of the staff on, and what support do you need to learn more information about in that topics? And I already have a call set up next week with the representative for Learning Science Institute to kind of get some more resources for my building leadership team, who is comprised of 6 teachers, my instructional coach, and one of my assistant principals, so that we can be better prepared to kind of give our staff what they wanted. And that was the big thing that they were just saying, is that they want PD. They don't want PD over theory. Like they don't need PD over theory at this point. They need PD over practicality, and making things happen. So that's the thing that I've been focusing on going into next year. Also, there's a Twitter chat that I've been a part of that kind of started off last Saturday, and it's every Saturday, but it's held by Beth Huff, Shelley Burgess, who wrote the book Lead Like a Pirate. Also, they're co-doing it with Tracy Browder and Dawn Harris, and it's a series called Enlightenment, Empowerment, and Action. And basically, one of the things they talked about, and this kind of goes along more with kind of the social action stuff that's going on, or cultural, the racial uproar that's going on, but really just trying to be proactive, call things out and stuff like that. So we've really been looking at how can we be better prepared to handle things like that. So that's kind of what, I've been trying to do to get ready for, the fall and get things ready to go as we kind of look at moving forward. So as we wait for Dirty to get back on. Oh, okay. You there, Dirty? Dirty, you there?
Man, listen. All right, I just want to the folks listening. I got 6 bars on my phone, both of them, both phones, both laptops is going. Anyway, let me. So when I think about
You need to cut your Netscape. You need to get some better Netscape, bro. You gotta leave Netscape alone.
Man, I got AT&T. I got AT&T.
You got that dial up.
I'm calling them today, man. I want my $85 I paid for internet back. Anyway, when I think about next year, so yesterday our reentry plan and reentry plan on our website, and so it's 11-page document, but it talks about some of the things that we're putting in place. But for me, this is crazy because like I'm in a space where we were cut off again. The culture in the building was growing and students was learning. And so when COVID happened and the state testing happened, it kind of put a damper on things because we were actually looking forward to taking that state test because this was an opportunity to show everybody, what our kids were learning. And so that mindset going in, for me, I'm on this fence because it's like, we just talked about we follow a lot of trends. And so I could see Indy doing the same thing. So I'm just trying to keep everybody focused. I got a brand new staff coming in, mostly. Leadership team is the same, but got a bunch of young folks who hungry, but also starting virtual learning. We can at least get a good couple months in before, this potential outbreak number 2 happens. That'd be good. So I'm just going to put a lot of focus on developing teachers.
One of the things that they kind of hit on and they kind of continue to was the undertone of the conference that we just finished up was that even if we come back into the building in August, or September, whenever your school starts, is you when you're doing those expectations, routines, and procedures, you want to instill the virtual learning routines and procedures at the same time, even though you're in the building, because at some point we are going to go to that. And you don't want to be doing that once we get into a virtual learning environment. You want to already have those procedures and things instilled in students again. So that's the thing that I would tell a lot of leaders out there to kind of make sure their staff is understanding, is that when they get into the building, whatever format it is, make sure whatever they expect from kids virtually, whether it's checking in, how to give feedback, where to go find assignments, getting them on Google Classroom and understanding how to use the Google platform or whatever other platform a district may be using, do those things from day one and not wait till school is getting ready to shut down. So that would be something that they kind of continually harped upon at the conference I was at.
Yeah. That's some definitely good advice for sure. Go ahead, Bo. You had something?
No, I was just going to say, I think that is crucial that, early on, whether you're, I don't know that we're going to be back in the building on day 1 of school, but I think moving forward, no matter what school looks like, not, 21, 22, that has to be a part of what we do is have our students ready, our families ready for that potential. And it gives more flexibility to them to handle business no matter what comes up.
Absolutely.
I think also, and I know we were focusing on, the safety of students around COVID. And I don't know if this was, and if we don't hit upon this later on, just let me know. I don't know how we're going to segue this in, but I think we need to really talk about the racial unrest that's going on and how do we as leaders really navigate our staff and our students and our communities through that process as well. Because just as big as COVID-19 is, we got this racism 20 that's also we facing.
Not for real. I think, the big talk today with Juneteenth is like, what are schools going to do about their curriculum, right? How are schools going to embed Juneteenth? And we're going to how that's going to be tied into the curriculum, because those pieces are left out. As we segue into that, our boy, 45.
No, that's your boy. That's your boy. That's your boy. Not our boy. That's you and TSA Ray boy.
45, man, and his antics, right? So when we think about 45 and his antics, we all know that he's hosting a rally tomorrow instead of today. But he came out early in the weekend and made the comment that Juneteenth he made Juneteenth famous, something along those lines or whatever he said.
Okay, so while you pause, I'll jump in first. Right. So devil's advocate, right? And it's really hard to be devil's advocate for somebody like 45. But if you look at Juneteenth based off of how you guys described it and how you guys described your experiences of Juneteenth, it is pretty regionalized, or it was pretty regionalized in terms of like how it's celebrated or whatever. I think by him coming out and saying that foolishness, it kind of galvanized everybody to where it's like, all right, let me do more research on Juneteenth. Like I'm seeing television commercials and whatnot, and like this year is like no other year, because last year Nickelodeon wasn't pumping Juneteenth. Last year, like it wasn't Google talking about Black Power and like all these other things that are happening, like how they're happening right now. And so any press is good press for 45. So if 45 could come on and he can galvanize his base by saying that, hey, he made Juneteenth famous, then that's what he's going to do. Because any publicity for him now is going to stoke his base to get him reelected. And so what we need to do is we need to not use this moment as a distraction. We need to stay as one and make sure that we're getting to the boost to get his ass up out of office. That's what we need to do.
I think go ahead, Ball.
I was just going to say that's the key with this administration. They are going to make policies. They are going to make announcements and statements to keep, what's the magician trick? They keep you focused on this hand while the other hand is doing some other business. And that's all it is. It's just obfuscating what the focus should be. The focus should be, bringing Black people together, educating, ourselves, educating everybody, so we can put some policies in place to really make a difference. I mean, because, there's only going to be so long that we can just keep this momentum of marching and uprising and those types of things. We really got to see some policies put into place, and not just the token, HBCU presidents come show up, tell me I'm great while I give you a little bit of money right here, but I don't change any policies to make sure that you guys are solid for the Black community and for our country moving forward.
And that's kind of, I'm right there with you. It's like, we got to get beyond the photo op. We can't be focused on the photo op because everybody's trying to get their photo op on now. You've seen what happened with the Democrats in the House and what they did, when Nancy Pelosi couldn't even get up off her knee, after looking like a Wakanda chessboard, I'm beyond the photo ops because you got the power to really make change, but you are here taking pictures. That's the part that I can't really get down with, and it was good for the cameras, but it's not good for the people that you're really trying to make a change with. Beyond just also the Juneteenth thing, I think it's also he was very strategic in the place that he picked to have the rally. Mm-hmm. I think that was very strategic in what he was trying to do as well. We can kind of get into that if we need to about the whole, Black Wall Street and what took place with that 99 years ago and things like that. So I think he was very strategic in that. And it's almost like, I want to poke at y'all every way I can. I'm not gonna come out and blatantly do something, but I'm gonna keep hitting you with these body blows, and eventually you're gonna fall. It's kind of the mindset I feel like he's doing. Or I'm gonna rally everybody around me. Like I was on a call yesterday, and we were talking about the whole "Make America Great," slogan and all that stuff like that. And it was 12 Black men on this call, all educators, and they up here trying to define what "Make America Great" is and when was America great. Now I'm like, look, America ain't never been great for Black people. So why are we sitting up here on this call trying to define this? Let's call it what it is. The "Make America Great" slogan is a rally call for racism. That's what it is. So y'all, and like Ray said, we focusing on the wrong thing. And I think it was Dr. Cole, who's also part of Black Hands. Like, we can't never just focus on the prize. It's always something that comes over here to distract us. It's like, Black people got ADHD. They see something shiny over here, so we gonna leave this and go over here. And that's why we know we need to get past the antics and all the, the juggling and say, okay, what are we trying to do? We really trying to rally votes. You know what I'm saying? So if we go, and I feel like right now we're doing all this protesting and marching and all that stuff. Like, why couldn't we be doing voter registration while this is going on at the same time?
That's a good point.
Like, how do we change, the narrative? Like, it's good. And, one of the things that I heard in the book club that I was in with Dr. Cole was that, marching today without a plan for tomorrow is just exercise. We doing all this marching and protesting, but what's the plan for tomorrow? What's the plan when they, all the buildings get done getting burned and they start rebuilding everything? Like, what do we have? What platform are we standing on to say, we're going to continue to push these issues, and not when they come give us some small concessions along the way, throw us some breadcrumbs, and that's going to appease us. Because that's the same trick they've been doing for decades and centuries now.
And can I go back to that voter registration piece. I mean, Black people have been voting, and we exercise our right, but can we make sure we're staying on the rolls? I mean, we look at, Georgia, we look at Minnesota, all these different things that are happening to keep us from voting is just so wild. Like, these, I mean, we got these, $1,000 phones that we can do so many things on, but we can't vote on it. I mean, that's just one example, but there's just so many things that are preventing us from making sure that our votes counting. I think
and also getting ahead though. I mean, because one of the big things in 2016 they talked about was the Black vote was suppressed because of polling places being changed and all that other stuff like that. Like, you can find out right now what your polling place is. Don't be waiting until the end of October to try to figure out what your polling place is. Like, I know right now my polling place for the next 2 elections is shut down. I got to go somewhere else. So, but then also as a community, how do we come together? Like, so especially like with our older population, our vulnerable population, knowing that now they got to travel further. What can we do as a community? We all part of, 3 different fraternities. What can we do as a fraternity to provide some kind of transportation services for these people to get to these new polling areas? Like, those are the things I'm talking about, like beyond just the march. Like, what is the plan to make sure that we putting everything in our in a place to make sure that we can get to the polls and we got, the right people, doing things they need to do at the polls. We already know it's going to be long lines. You know what I'm saying? So let's rent some lawn chairs and put some lawn chairs on so older people can sit down if they got to sit 2-3 hours at a poll. You know what I'm saying? That's like, those are the things I'm talking about. Like, how do we get the ball rolling on ideas like that? Welcome back, Dirty.
I don't even want to listen. I don't even want to speak because I think my internet might go out.
Sorry, we got you.
So
we got you,
Dr. Smith. You made some great points, but I want to come back to one of the points that you talked about with the photo op and the Congressional Black Caucus. And so they were doing that in solidarity. I don't know if you guys know that, but the members of the Congressional Black Caucus asked them to, in solidarity, in allyship, to take that picture. So it wasn't like it. So if ire should come, it should come to the members of the Congressional Black Caucus for asking them to be in that photo op. And I think that's a point that's been missed a lot in terms of like, going at Pelosi and going at, the other white folks that were in the picture.
And I went you on that. Whoever came up with the idea is like I said, I didn't know who came up with the idea, but whoever had that initial thought didn't think it through. Like, what this is going to look like. So, the Black Caucus, somebody formulated that thought. Whoever it is needs that blame. Because like I said, for the people that I know that I rock with, we didn't see it as nothing but a photo op. We didn't see no solidarity. We like, y'all just out here trying to pander for votes is what we took it as.
Mm.
Yeah. But then also, not to shoot, I'm not trying to shoot anybody because voter suppression is real. And like, you see it in like Georgia, you see it. And you see it in Wisconsin. You see all these Black folks that are coming out to vote. And like, yo, listen, man, we want this guy out of here or whatever. And then when you got folks, Republicans when they're in office, and I'm a proud Republican, but I gotta say that there's some racist shit that's happening in my party with regards to voter suppression. So when you close voting polls in order to make things more difficult for Democrats to vote, it's already you saying that or conceding that you would lose this election if you didn't do crooked shit. And so calling them out on doing that. But then also, I think that one of the most important things that I don't necessarily see Democrats do, and what's going to probably make me move towards being more of an independent than a Republican, is the fact that these jokers get elected and put into office. We don't keep the fire on them once they get into office.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think that's the key, Ray. We have the power, but it's just a matter of us sticking together and showing up every day. I can't remember what I was.
Yo, it's like this whole program has like the Thanos glove.
Listen, it ain't me. I'm still here.
Hey, I think the Republican Party trying to shut us down now, y'all.
I'm still here. I'm here. I just,
Hold on.
I don't know.
Okay. Wow.
I'm listening. I'm just listening. I'm taking it in.
No, but hey, Hey, but no, like that, we want to hear your thoughts on your boy 45.
Man, so look, Jesus. All right, so man, listen. The moment he got elected, I said this is about to be the most interesting 4 years ever. And I'm gonna be honest, man. I got the energy to vote and rally folks around issues and policies and stuff. But I honestly turn on CNN because I want to see what foolishness he gonna say next. I'm gonna be honest. Like I want to see what he go from the drinking disinfectant to to the way he says China. Just a bunch of foolishness. China. And then he does this a lot, right? He does a lot of this. But in all seriousness, though, when you think about the moment that we're in, right? If he didn't do anything, he should have got more Black people focused on issues that matter, because he basically threw all of our issues and threw them by the wayside, right? Which should have been a reminder to us to say, like, to your point, we don't put the pressure on people, right? We get what we want in office, and then we think we just sit back. No, we got to hold everybody accountable. I'm going to be honest. COVID would have happened whether Hillary got elected, right? That has nothing to do with Trump. But I think the way in which it's been handled, right, that can fall on him. And so we blame him. I don't blame him for COVID. I blame him for the way it's got out of control. But I think with this election, I think Joe Biden's in a good place because all he has to do is do the opposite of Trump. But that don't mean his opposite is right. You know what I mean? Like, as long as he doesn't say anything reckless, people are going to side with him. But it's like, we got to listen really what Biden's saying. We got to listen to what Biden's doing. We got to even go back to the things he said 20 years ago, right? And some of those policies that I don't think folks are paying attention to.
If you went back 20 years ago, and you fellas jump in, but like if you went back 20 years ago in terms of the things that Biden said, Biden wouldn't be at this point right now. Mm-hmm. Because if you think about that 1994 crime bill, that 1994 crime bill desecrated the Black family. Mm-hmm. What I mean by that is, a lot of people's pops became super predators, and so it kind of, we nowadays we look at the nucleus of the Black family, but if you look at the cause of why there is no nuclear Black family, I would say the 80s and 90s, the crack era, and then the super predator laws that were built to 3-strike and take people out are the reason why our community is on the decline. We're rising now, but while we were on a decline.
Yeah.
So real quick, so we gonna, this the Realist Ed movement. So we gonna call a spade a spade. Biden is where he's at right now because your boy Obama tapped him and made him VP. Yeah. Because if you go back and look at Obama's platform and the things he stood for, that Biden was riding for, he was riding with. He done did a whole 180 on a lot of those issues now. So, it was kind of like, I'm going to play this because I'm trying to make this move later on. Once again, and it's the thing that I just feel like continue to tell people is like, too many times, white folks is playing the long game and Black folks is living for today.
That's a fact.
Mm-hmm. And that's what Biden was doing. I'm going to rock with Obama for these 8 years, even though some of the stuff he doing, I really don't rock with. Mm-hmm. But I know this move I'm going to make after he gone. Mm-hmm. Plain and simple.
So jumping into that, when you think about it, so in 16, do you think what was the reason why Biden didn't run in 16? Because if anything, he was as hot as he was going to be, right? Coming out of 16. So why wait 4 years? I mean, he didn't even run, did he? He didn't even run for the nomination, right? So he sat back and played this whole, I'm not going, and then he danced around it. What was the logic with that? Because I would have ran in 16. He might be the president now had he ran in 16, honestly. Unless this Trump wave was really just a tidal wave that wasn't going to be stopped, right? So,
I know, like, when his son passed like right around that son time or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that kind of play. He wanted to kind of take a step back to kind of regroup and things like that. That's the reason why I thought he didn't run back then. Like, it could have been a plethora of other reasons, but I do remember hearing something or reading something back then that said that was one of the major factors why he felt like he needed to step back and recuperate and figure his life out after his son passed. But I'm like you. I think that tidal wave of Trump, no matter who he ran against, wasn't going to be stopped. It wasn't going to be stopped for the simple fact that Biden, even though he done flipped the script a little bit now, he was Obama's boy. So that's what people was looking at that now. And Trump's coming with all this, white power rhetoric. And that just brought them to the masses, So that's I don't think no matter who was running against him back then, it was gonna happen no matter what.
Yeah.
So I gotta push y'all, right?
Okay.
And so let's look at both candidates. Let's look at their educational platforms, right? And so when you think about the educational platforms, you see that Trump is more school choice than any other candidate. And then you see Biden is pro-union because Democrats have to pander to the union.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that?
So, I mean, I'm assuming all of us on here is, pro school choice, right? So, this is tricky, right? Because what I want to say, man, could get me in trouble, right? And so I'm trying to formulate those words because what I want to say is, look,
it's the realist ed movement. It's the realist ed movement,
right? But here's the thing, though: am I willing to sacrifice Biden's stance on education because of his stance on like human rights, right? Like this man Trump is like, yeah, he's pro school choice, but this man is anti everything human rights. And so it's like, do I just side with Biden, even though to your point, he's gonna be very pro to the union? And do I just say I operate in my space in my school and do all I need to do and advocate for school choice and say we got to get this man in office because homeboy tripping, man. Homeboy's just tripping, man. I can't do some of this stuff with him, man. I just can't.
I think this is, and tell me if I'm wrong. I feel like the question is, where do we sit at on school choice, versus union? Because I mean, I'm with you, Dave. Like, I can sacrifice the school choice, all that. I can sacrifice the educational stands just because of all the other stuff he's doing. Like, you're gonna at some point you're gonna have to. No candidate is gonna have everything you want. True. So you have to decide what is it that I'm willing to sacrifice, at the same time. So I think that's the piece that you have to look at is like, okay, yeah, how is, if Biden gets in office, no matter if you school choice or not, how's that going to affect you? Now, the one piece that I'm gonna say, because since we kind of introducing ourselves to the audience, everything like that, I feel like I can be school choice, pro school choice, but not really have, and this is my own personal, have a real affinity towards charter schools. And that's all because of my own personal issue that I had with charter schools when I was in that area. Because, and this is why I'm pro school choice, is because I feel like not every kid is going to get into that select charter school. Some kids are going to have to go to their neighborhood school. So I think we need to put the pressure on that. All schools need to be good. I don't care if you charter, non-charter, private, parochial, whatever you may be. And me personally, my school is so great that I don't care what other charter program is in my city. People want to get into my school because that's how great my school is.
And that's how it should be. That's how competition should run the system. It shouldn't be, these charter schools are siphoning money from the system. No, it'd be like my school is so good that they want to get into my school just as much as they want to get into any charter school or whatever. That's how it should be. That's how it should be. And then charter schools should be able to call you to say, hey, you're running a really good district school. Can I have my teachers come over to see what you're doing in order to collaborate with you? And then vice versa if the charter school is doing something. That's how it should be. But it's so anti.
Yeah. And I think we got the part. I'm going to say this and I'm going to give you the floor. I think, and this is just my philosophy, whether it be with public schools, charter school or district schools versus charter schools, private versus parochial. If it's, the staff versus parents, if it's teachers versus administration, is like, we got to tear down these walls that is us against them.
It's a pink wall.
Like, we have to get rid of all these walls. So, that's what I'm trying to advocate for. Let's tear down these walls and have some true, real conversations, because there's some good things that charter schools are doing that, public district schools can be using. And there's some good things that public district schools are doing that charter schools can use it. So like, why do we have to have this and? Why can't it be why does it have to be the or? Why can't it be the and? Why can't we have this and that? It don't have to be this or that.
Facts.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I was going to say, kind of the exact same thing. Like, we need to, it is a competition, right? As you were saying, we want to have the best of everything, but at that, are we going at the whole competition thing at the expense of our students and the resources that we have that we can utilize together? Because it's coming into, just my specific example is, we've got 8 middle schools in my district, and it's a pretty tight knit group. but everybody's just kind of doing their thing because that's their thing. And, probably about 10 years ago, it was like, everybody was fighting to be the best middle school in the district. And now it's like, okay, y'all are doing some good things over here. Why aren't we collaborating so I can be great too? Yeah. And then, just kind of jumping back to, big picture thing, whether you want to candidate this school, pro school choice or pro union, honestly, at our level, it doesn't matter is my question. Just because, they're going to do what they're going to do, up there at the national level, and, kind of set some policies and just, it's going to trickle down. But I think we've got to focus on where we're at and making the best decisions that we can for our communities.
For sure. So you this is a good segue, right? Because you correct me if I'm wrong. I think I saw you were the first person I saw that posed this question, right? That posed this short list, right? So everybody knows like Biden has a short list for VP. So you posted, what you thought was Biden's should be his short list for his Secretary of Ed, right? Yeah. And so I'm gonna jump in real quick and do mine real quick because I got that Teddy Riley going, and so I want to. The intellectual
okay,
stuff, yeah, right. So look, this is what I feel, and it all ties together. I think Biden should go straight black woman. So let me tell you, I think VP, he should go with Susan Rice or Keisha Lance Bottoms, right? Attorney General or his Supreme Court pick should be Stacey Abrams or Kamala Harris, right? So for Secretary of Ed, I'm going with Kaya Henderson, and here's why. So when she took over DC in I think 2010, she took over from Michelle Rhee. And so if you know what DC public schools is like under Michelle Rhee, right or wrong, those are some huge shoes that she had to follow. So she stepped into that role, consecutive years of high achievement. I think the biggest piece was teacher retention, right? Some of those teachers that Michelle Rhee might have ostracized, right? She was able to bring them back and uplift them. And so she's led a big district. She's got the pedigree. I heard on the 8 Black Hands and even became more excited and she gets it. And I feel like she could be a voice for the people because I think right now, homegirl been lost us since she said something about shooting a grizzly bear, right, in her confirmation hearing. So, that would be my pick. I'm gonna go with Kaya Henderson, but I think Biden should just go all black women, like just sweep it with black women. It just set the tone there. So, what y'all think?
So, I've been going lists, doing some research myself, and there's a lot of interesting names out there. I am not opposed to a black woman at all. That would be great to see. Again, I kind of have that same, type of mindset. They're going to have who they're going to have up there. Are they really going to make a difference for us, at the building level, on the ground, working with kids every single day? I don't know that they will, but who knows? Who knows what types of policies that they're going to enact? But just kind of going through the list, different lists. One guy that just has stood out to me because I spent some time in the Maryland D.C. area, and Freeman Hrabowski, he's the president of UMBC, so University of Maryland, Baltimore County, and he has done a lot of work to make sure that Black men, Black young men, Black young women are, hitting it when it comes to science and engineering. And, that's been his focus, and has done a lot for Black kids in that area in the state of Maryland, just giving them some opportunities. And he is, his heart is on his sleeve, and I've seen him speak several times. And I just know the work that he's put in, and he's gotten a lot of money for his school, and he's focused on making strides in making, Black young men and women successful. So that's kind of where my research has landed. But there's a lot of great candidates out there.
Yeah. So Unc, are you saving your pick for the show, or are you gonna give yours, man? What?
Bro, so listen. So the reason why I constructed that list was to engage in conversations like this, for people to go out and be more informed about exactly who Ed Secretary could be and the possibilities. And the reason for that is because, like, we talk about this vice president position. I mean, like, that high level is really not going to impact us the way that, we think that it is. However, we work in the field of education. And so any of those policies that are commandeered through that office are going to impact us and affect us directly. And so we need to be proactive in terms of talking about that, so that, if anybody can get Biden's ear, or anybody in Biden's camp's ear, that we can have like proactive conversations about who we want as opposed to who they're going to try to give us. Right.
Yeah.
And so, there was some interesting people from both sides, or whatever, the union side and the choice side, or whatever. And I feel like, by putting some polarizing people on that list, it was going to make for good conversation. Some of the good things that I was hearing about the list is that some of these people I saw, people were saying that, hey, the list is okay. There's people that I was like, hell no. And both sides are saying that, right? So like, you got people that are pro-union that was like, hell no, I don't want Eva. And you got people that are like pro-choice, they're like, hell no, I don't want Randy. And so it was like really good conversation that came from it. So I'm gonna hold back. I think I'm gonna put out a dark horse list.
Okay.
Of people like how Ball was talking about, like people that are like under the radar that people don't necessarily know about, or whatever. And like one of those people for me, I don't know if you know this person, but Sarah Carpenter, man. Bro, Sarah Carpenter is a parent activist in Memphis. She is the CEO of Memphis Lift. And she's amazing. And like, so what would the education secretary cabinet position be with a parent running it? That would really come in and shake shit up, because I feel like this is a position that this is a year, just like how we use how the presidency was used to come in and shake things up in 2016. Maybe we take the ed cabinet position and we shake things up in education and finally get parents what they want. You got a lot of people that are pandering around these teachers or whatever, like, hey, it should be a teacher. It should be a teacher. I was a teacher. Shit, it could be me. But I feel like to have somebody in there that's going to speak for parents, especially Black parents. People that have been in our system that have been disenfranchised for centuries or whatever. To finally have somebody in there that's going to take the lead and do things that are in the best interest of Black parents, I think that could be huge.
Yeah. So let me ask you real quick before we jump into our next topic. So this year, Indiana this will be the first year that the governor gets to appoint the state superintendent, right? So typically that's a separate election, and voted in. And so it's made even people now, including myself, chime in. I want to know now the governor's plan for education, because that's going to tell me a lot about who he picks. So in you all's respective states, how's that position picked? Is it appointed by the governor, or is it elected by the people?
In California, it's elected by the people.
Okay.
Yeah. In New York, it's a little bit different. I think that it's an appointment. I'm not sure if it's through the Board of Regents or how the appointment works, but it's definitely an appointment. So, yeah. But I mean, if it was an election, it probably would be better, because now you have to come in with your platform. Now you have to say exactly what you're going to do, as opposed to, just getting in and like following through with what the governor wants you to do.
True.
Now we get to know who you are. We get to know if you're qualified based off of, our decisions on if qualifications match this or match what we want it to match. So for example, if you're like, I want this person to be a prior teacher or to have classroom teaching experience, now your platform has to kind of say you did that, or if not, then you're not eligible for certain people to vote for you.
Dr. Smith, see all them internet jokes, man. I told you.
No, that wasn't the internet, bro. That was actually,
okay.
That was my laptop. So that was actually the laptop. That wasn't even the internet.
And laptop. So we just announced. Well, Ball and I we dropped our sec. Ed Pitts, Unc gave us a dark horse, but he's gonna save his. He said he
got the list coming out.
Yeah, so Unc wanted us to be, more proactive, right? He wanted us to start having these conversations. So, where does your research take you? Did you land on a person?
Yeah, actually, it's a toss up. So, when I approached it from the standpoint of, from a policy standpoint, like system wide, and I'm not just talking K-12. I'm talking K all the way through college. And what is the biggest issue facing education right now to me is teacher preparation. I think, the way teachers are being prepared to come into the classroom these days is horrible. It's outdated. Just like a lot of their instruction in the classroom is outdated. Mm-hmm. So I looked at from the standpoint of who can go into that position and really affect policy to get colleges on board to change their preparation process so that when teachers do get to us, we don't have to do as much to get them at least up and running in the classroom. Now, they're still going to need to, have the rough edges smoothed out, and there's going to have to be ongoing PD. But how can we get them closer to up to speed when they come out of school? So my 2 picks that I kind of kept going back and forth on, one of them was just basically selfish. Like, I'm going to give you my selfish pick first because I just idolize her work. And, I've met her in person a few times. I mean, she's very down to earth, and that's Dr. Gloria Lansing-Billings. Like, I mean, that's just, she's a phenomenal woman. She has the classroom experience, a proven educator. I think there's a lot of racial issues that need to be addressed that she is real. She's known for race theory, and how do we educate the disenfranchised? So I think she would really come in with that perspective to really help, colleges, teacher ed programs really help their candidates know you need to understand the racial makeup of your kids when you go into that school. No matter if you're going into, Podunk Town with a bunch of whites, or if you're going into the hood to teach Black kids, like, you have to understand how race is going to play a part in this process of education. So that's kind of that's my selfish pick. But when I kind of sit back and really look at like people that I feel like could happen, I don't know who y'all said because my laptop is kind of shut down on me, is Dr. Linda Darling-Hammond. That was who, I put out there as who I really want to rock with. I think she's a proven educator. She has, the school. Plus, if Biden comes in not really supporting school choice, she's a school choice person. So she could be, the devil's advocate in his ear for those people that believe in school choice. So she's going to bring that to the party as well. She's built teacher ed programs. She's built first year teacher education models of PD and things like that. So she's already done a lot of that work that I think, and she was really on the cusp of being Obama's Secretary of Ed. So she already is kind of known in that landscape already. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So she has those connections with the university system. She has a connection in a lot of places in the K-12 system. And she knows how to finesse the political side of things. Because I think whoever gets the job, you got to be able to play the political game. You got to be able to play that game to get your way. So those were kind of my 2 picks. Like I said, Gloria Lansing-Billings, just because that's my personal pick. I idolize the woman. She is definitely one of my educational heroes. But the other one definitely, who I think I would, if you put me to the fire and say who it needs to be, if I was Biden, I'm going with Dr. Linda Darling-Hammond. That's who I'm going with.
Nice.
So let me ask you this question. Let me push. If you're going with Dr. Linda Darling-Hammond, it's like her mentee is on that list too.
Mm-hmm.
Julie.
Right. But my thing is, how do you, if you really this is my question. How do you pick the mentee and not the mentor?
What if the mentor doesn't want it? She doesn't want it. Then is he next up?
No, then you go with my selfish pick.
Then if your selfish pick doesn't want it, is he out of the question? Like what?
No, he's not out of the question. For me, he probably would be my 4th choice. Mm-hmm. He would probably be my 4th choice out of everybody out there. And I don't know why her name escapes me. And Dave started out with her. Kaya would be my 3rd choice. Mm-hmm. Like I think Kaya's, I want somebody that's been in the trenches of K-12. Mm. And I don't know Julian's background. I guess I didn't research him enough to know if he's, if he has that background or is he just a person straight from academia?
Yeah. So there was, I think Chris did a show early in the week, right? Or was it this week where he had Eva on?
Yeah,
was that this week?
That was last week.
Yeah, last week he had Eva on, right? And so, Eva was on she was on Trump's list, right? Short list of some sort.
Yeah.
And then, she was this theme started coming, but then, her whole, I guess, stance on George Floyd, and that came out, or that troll from that account or whatever that was, right? I don't know what that means. I know I liked her. I read her book, kind of followed some of the things Success Academy. Honestly, we mirrored most of our virtual learning plan.
Don't do it.
From some of the stuff they were doing.
I just told you not to do it. Don't do it.
He already did it. It's already done.
I did it.
You don't put yourself in the frying pan, bro. You see all the smoke Success Academy is getting right now.
No, hold on. I'm talking about learning. I ain't talking about race relations. I'm talking about learning.
Yeah, but then it's
interwoven
on the learning piece as well. You know, in terms of just like anti-racist tropes and like things of that nature, in terms of like how they deliver their instruction. In terms
so let me ask you, as a superintendent, because I believe one of the things that I admire about you is you're very results driven, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And outcomes, right? And so like as a young leader, like that's where my mindset is. So with that, we going off school, but I get with that and everything, how do we argue against the results? And can you? Or maybe we just have this offline, but that's the part I want to know. Like with everything going on, how we argue those.
So here's the thing, right? So like you can argue against the results if there's a certain way that you're getting the results.
Okay.
So like if the results come at the detriment of the students, then they're not good results. You know, you want to make sure that, you know, and I talked about this in my episode, the last episode that we did, the 66. It's like I had to walk away from zero tolerance because it just wasn't jiving with my spirit.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, you know, is that how I want my kids to be treated? No. I don't want my kids to be treated that way. I want my kids to be lively. I mean, like, I don't want them like overly recessed like some of these white But at the end of the day, you know, I want there to be a high bar in terms of like, you know, the programs that are set up in order for my kids to thrive. And so, you know, my theory is, it's like, if I can build a school that I would want my own kids to go to, then I know that that's going to be an amazing school. But the push for that is, I think Eva's kids attend her school.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
But like, I know it's getting a lot of smoke right now.
But also, my thing is like, and this is just me. When you say results, and I understand academic results is that, you know, is a huge piece of that. But academics ain't the only thing we doing in these buildings.
True that.
You know what I'm saying? So that ain't the only thing we're doing. So of course we want to have academic success and we want to have those numbers. But then also, like, are we educating the emotional side of a kid? Are we having a kid be able to have critical thinking processes on their own? Or are we just looking, can they get a certain test on a certain score on the test at the end of the year? You know, and I hate the term, even though, you know, I get it, the education of the whole child, because it's so vague to me. But there are other components of education besides just the reading, writing, and arithmetic that goes on in classrooms.
So that's a really good point. And so, you know, here's the thing: traditional brick and mortar schools, y'all can score shit every year, and that school is still going to be open as long as there are constituents to come to the school, right? Whereas if you're a charter school, like the name of your charter is based off of how you perform. And so that's why there's so much of an emphasis on charter schools and test scores or whatever. Like if I could have a Georgia year, shit, I wouldn't test either.
You better leave Georgia alone, right?
What's going on in Georgia? What's happening in Georgia?
Hey man, listen, Georgia.
What's going on in Georgia?
You know what? No, leave Georgia alone, because Georgia gonna tap into my internet, and I've been on for 35 minutes uninterrupted. So, Bob, go ahead if you want to give something on this topic, because we're gonna close out with one last one. But I want to ask Ray something about the show that the Hands are doing on Sunday. So, you got any thoughts on? I don't even know where we were going. We were just talking about results, I guess.
Yeah, you know, I just want to go back to Dr. Smith real quick. I think if we're actually measuring that social emotional component, because I mean that's the bottom line. You know, the results are based on the test scores, and if we're not measuring something, then it doesn't really matter. It matters, but it doesn't matter when it comes down to what, you know, what the state's looking at and what, you know, families are looking at, because, you know, they're looking at our report cards to see where our kids are scoring on the state tests and all those types of things, you know, when they have those options of where they want to put their kids. And I think that if we make that something that we're measuring, it's definitely a huge component to making sure that our kids are well. Because, you know, I've been in a high performing district the last 4 years, and you know, just that focus on academics is great. And we got kids that are, you know, getting into, you know, the Harvards, University of Chicago's, and all those types of things. But I tell you what, they don't know how to talk to an adult. I mean, you laugh, but you see them in the hallways and like say hello, how you doing? Like they put their head down and jet off. I mean,
I blame that on video games.
But that's the point I'm making.
If I put my headset on and put a microphone on, you know, we can have a conversation before that.
It's money. It's money. So we're at the hour point, and so I want to thank everybody for bearing with me, brothers. Thank you for bearing with me because my internet is trash. This is my first and last show that I'm going to host and produce. Why
is that dirty?
Because my internet only said I can do 40 minutes uninterrupted, which is what I got. But right, the hands got a show Sunday, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, because one of our topics was police in school. Aren't y'all going to talk about a little bit of that Sunday? Did I see that? Okay. So I tried to think about my stance on that. I didn't have anything articulate because we don't have them. We don't have police officers in our school. We have a network security director, one officer, and then we got sheriffs that do traffic, and that's it, right? We're also K6, and I just fundamentally can't see an officer sitting in my building with K6. That's just me. But I'd be interested if you can give us a little teaser about maybe where you stand. Or brothers, if y'all got something on police in schools, man, because I don't have nothing, but I want to hear from y'all about this idea of police in schools, and should we just like cut the contracts of school districts and police officers?
Oh, that's a great question, bro. So part of the show on Sunday, the first part is going to be Strange Fruit, and so Strange Fruit basically is the derivative off of what we're seeing around the country with these young black men coming up hung in trees,
man,
and like that's not research doesn't support us hanging ourselves as a way of suicide. I'll say it like that in order to in order to make sure that we're safe space in it. And so we're going to talk about that because that's going to be the first part of the show. The second part of the show is basically there's this great push for police reform. And so you can't really reform the police without reforming education. You just really can't. You can't do one without the other. Like, you can't say, all right, we're going to reform these cops and then have these racist ass tropes in schools. Like, it just doesn't make sense. And so, it's going to be a really good show. Really interested in some of the opinions of the fellas from the 8 Black Hands.
Ball, Dr. Smith, y'all got any thoughts on this new push?
Yeah, real quick, it's something I'm sure because we have school resource officers in my district. We don't have one dedicated to my school, but we have one that comes frequently. And over the last three weeks, last month, I've really been struggling with whether or not I want on my campus. Because it's been nothing but positive. It's been nothing but positive in a lot of situations. But we have had instances where, and I have my own personal feelings when I see a police officer. I'm comfortable like at my school, but when I'm outside of school and I don't have the shirt and tie on and I don't have my employee ID badge on, and I'm just doing my thing in the community, I have certain feelings, and I understand why why kids tense up and just in the presence of police. And so I'm really strongly considering whether or not I want them on my campus moving forward.
So just real quick, I'm gonna make it real quick. So the last 3 schools I've been at all have had school resource officers to the point where the district I just left, they got their own police department. Like the district has their own police department. And that's in Kansas City, Kansas. I mean, that just, my current school, we have a very strict line that with our resource officer, and my resource officer is cool as a fan. Like, she pretty much sits in her office pretty much the whole day. I mean, she getting paid to just chill because we have a very clear line on what she can intervene in and what she can't. If it's anything that has to do with the code of conduct, she's hands off. If it's something that crosses, any kind of law that's being broken, anything like that, then that's where she kind of intervenes in that. So we make it very, like, even if it's to break up a fight, administration should be the first ones there, to break up a fight. And then, if there's something that, assault charge like that, then she kind of gets roped into that. So, and I think every district or every state has a different way of looking at it. I know we didn't get into it, but I kind of want to talk about just the origin of why we even have police in schools. Originally it started out as a mentoring thing and really to kind of be a community connection. And now we done turned into this enforcement piece that I don't think it needs to be.
Yeah. Like I said, man, this is just, it's one of those things that I'll be interested to see what more schools do. But definitely gonna tune in this Sunday. But this has been episode 1. So fellas, closing thoughts. Mine is simple. I'm gonna invest in some new internet for our show in July. Or we're gonna have to cut the show to 40 minutes. So one of the two. No, talk. This space for me, man, I think, I appreciate the vision behind this, because I think in any opportunity that we can come together, not just as educators, but as Black men, and dialogue and converse, right, to push our thinking has been good. I learned a couple things today, a new, giants, I would say, in the education field that I'm gonna go back and do some research on to learn more about, to help inform my thoughts, right? Because I think, like you said, Dr. Smith, man, I went with my Secretary of Ed pick out of a heart, I went for the heart, and so I'm gonna go back and do some more research for sure. But also, man, I learned something too, just about this leadership, man, and what it's gonna be like in the school year, because that's been weighing heavy on me, next school year, and how I'm gonna help uplift and bring up my community. Maybe next show I'll talk more about the community in which I serve. But that's been heavy on me, and so I'm just excited about the show in July, and appreciate this time today.
Go ahead, O.
Yeah, I'll just say that I'm really thankful for this opportunity. It is listen to the A Black Hands has been, inspirational for me, because, you got four, solid men that are educated and, speak from the heart. And I feel like it's a community, and it's growing. I think, every week you see more and more folks hop on that Facebook Live and whatnot. And, hopefully more folks are joining the Patreon. So shout out to A Black Hands and Unc bringing us together. But, I'm just excited to continue to build community with you, learn and grow as a leader, as an educator. I shared before, I'm the only Black principal in my district of 33 schools. So, so I need this. I need you guys. I need y'all. So I'm excited to participate. I appreciate you.
Man, listen, the energy, just gauging you guys. I wanted to come through first episode next 12. I'll be behind the scenes.
You about to be producing.
Doing your job, David. I'll be behind the scenes. So the energy is amazing. Like the same energy that I get Sunday nights is the same energy that I'm feeling now. And so I'm super proud of you guys for bringing this perspective to the table, because it's so needed. Like, you don't see Black men talking about leadership, school leadership and things of that nature, or just talking about the issues that, how the issues present themselves, how societal issues present themselves, and then how we attack them as alphas, as omegas, as sigmas. So I appreciate the show. I appreciate you guys allowing me to come on the first episode, and I can't wait to get behind the scenes. Dr.
Smith, close us out.
Hey, so I mean, like I said, I'd be remiss if I didn't give Unc the shout out that he deserved. I know everybody like, man, this dude really they uncle or whatever, but I just want to go on record. I want to go on wax, knowing that I was the one that coined the whole Unc thing. Like, that came from me. I want to be on wax stating that.
Get yours.
So, but Unc had a vision. We said we did a show a Friday afternoon. And from that he had this vision that and I know he's like, my vision is now reality. That's something that that you can feel proud about. So I hope we made him proud as he thought we could make him. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention cousin Chris, and we'll get into cousin Chris and Sharif the GOAT, and we'll talk about that. But I really, really, really do want to take this time, man, because I literally would not be on this podcast had it not been for Dr. Charles Cole. Had I not went to a conference in Atlanta, the ESSA conference, and heard this man speak from the heart, and come straight, no chaser, that I'm like, damn, you can have a doctoral degree and still come like this. You don't have to, conform to what they want you to be. Like, he gave me that, that the ability to say, what, I'm not changing who I am and I can still get results. And it was that fateful day when I met him, and he kind of gave me that power. And then from there, I found out about the A Black Hands, and I went through and listened to the podcast, and I found out about the Patreon, so I literally would not be on this podcast if it wasn't for Dr. Charles Cole, and I call him, even though he's younger than me, that's big brother, in the education world. I mean, a man that is, a phenomenal man in the world of education and health services. So big shout outs to Dr. Cole for everything he does for me, mentoring me from afar. And if you don't have the book, go get the book, Beyond Grit and Resilience by Dr. Cole. It will change your life. And just to kind of wrap up the show, like everybody said, this show pushes me. You know, this week I spent prepping for this show. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about, you know, the people that's running, you know, on the short list for, you know, ed reform. And we all need something to push us so we don't get comfortable. And that's what this show does for me. It pushes me to continue to learn, you know, continue to grow, continue to be a voice in my own community, you know, and how do I take the things I'm learning to really continue to push my community, my school, my parents, my students, my staff, and all those things like that. So I'm thankful for this show. I'm excited to see where it goes from here, you know. And once again, you know, I can't wait for July, man. We doing big things, you know. And I just want to say the Real Ed movement is rolling. We rolling now.
Welcome to it, the Realist Ed Movement. The workhorses, the leaders. Thanks for tuning in to the AOS Podcast. Catch us next month. We out.
Go Mob.
Peace.
This guy.